Your teenager is not just looking at a screen, they are walking into a room that never closes, a room where everybody is louder, prettier, funnier, more confident, more certain, a room where a bad day can follow them into bed, a room where one awkward photo, one ignored message, one post that gets nothing back can feel bigger than it should. And if you're a parent, you can feel it. You see the mood change after the phone comes out. You hear "I'm fine" in that flat voice that means they are absolutely not fine. You watch your child disappear into a device and somehow the whole house gets heavier. Because social media is not just taking up your teen's time, it can start taking up their emotional oxygen. And the hardest part is this: a lot of what it's doing is invisible. It's easy to notice the hours. It's harder to notice the quiet comparison, the low hum of anxiety, the way confidence starts depending on reactions, the way rest turns into scrolling, the way boredom, sadness, embarrassment, loneliness, even a tiny moment of self-doubt now has an app waiting for it. For parents, this is exhausting. You're already juggling work, bills, meals, laundry, school stress, mental load, and the strange guilt of always feeling one step behind your own life. Then on top of all that, you're supposed to manage an entire digital world that changes faster than you can keep up with it. No wonder so many parents feel burnt out. No wonder so many feel like they're failing. You're not raising your teenager in the same world you grew up in. You're raising them in a world where childhood and performance have started bleeding into each other. That's what social media is really doing to your teen. It's not just entertaining them, it's training them. It's teaching them to check how they are seen, to measure themselves in public, to turn ordinary moments into potential content, to feel watched even when nobody is in the room. And when a young brain is still building identity, that matters. Because teenagers are supposed to be awkward. They are supposed to try on versions of themselves. They are supposed to change their minds. They are supposed to be messy in private. But social media makes so much of adolescence feel public. Now the bad haircut is documented, the friendship drama is screenshot, the joke that didn't land can be replayed, the party they weren't invited to can arrive in their hand before the night is even over. Years ago, a teen could have a hard day at school and eventually come home from it. Now the social world can stay switched on all night. There is no clean edge between school and home, no real off-duty, no true emotional clocking out. That constant exposure changes the nervous system, not in some dramatic movie scene way, in a slower way, a steadier way, a harder to spot way. Your teen may not say, "I feel dysregulated." They may say, "I'm tired." They may say, "Nothing's wrong." They may slam a door. They may look irritated by everything. They may need their phone the second they wake up. They may seem strangely flat after spending hours online. They may look connected to everyone and close to no one. And that's because social media can create a very strange emotional cycle. It gives stimulation without rest, connection without safety, attention without closeness, distraction without relief. A teen can spend 3 hours online and still feel lonely. They can get compliments and still feel insecure. They can be surrounded by people and still feel outside of the room. That's the trap. Parents are often told the problem is screen time. And yes, the hours matter. Sleep matters. Movement matters. Attention matters. But the deeper issue is not just how long they're online. It's what the online world is asking them to become. For some teens, it becomes a mirror that never reflects them kindly. For some, it becomes a stage. For some, it becomes a scoreboard. For some, it becomes a habit so automatic they reach for it before they've even had a thought of their own. And not every teen is affected in the same way. That matters too. Some teenagers use social media and mostly stay steady. They connect with friends, they laugh, they share interests. They find communities that make them feel less alone. That part is real. Social media is not pure evil. It can help teens find belonging, especially when they feel different, isolated, or misunderstood in everyday life. But that truth can sit right next to another truth. The same space that gives belonging can also intensify insecurity. The same app that offers connection can also invite comparison. The same platform that lets a teen express themselves can also make them feel like they are never enough. And teenagers are especially vulnerable to this because they are in the exact stage of life where belonging feels urgent. Adults can struggle with this too, of course. Plenty of grown-ups feel worse after scrolling. Plenty of parents compare their homes, marriages, careers, bodies, and parenting to what they see online. So if it affects a fully grown adult with life experience, perspective, and some emotional language, imagine what it can do to a 13-year-old on a bad day. Imagine what it can do to a 15-year-old who already feels left out, or a 16-year-old who is trying to understand who they are, or a teen who is dealing with anxiety, low mood, friendship strain, body image worries, academic pressure, or that deep unnamed feeling of not being enough. Social media doesn't always create those wounds, but it can press on them. Again and again, all day long, one of the biggest things it does is speed up comparison. And comparison used to have limits. You compared yourself to kids in your class, maybe the people on TV, maybe the popular group at school. Now your teen can compare themselves to hundreds of faces before breakfast. Bodies, bedrooms, skin, clothes, humor, confidence, social lives, achievements, popularity, beauty, fitness, relationships, money, status. Even when they know it's curated, it still lands. Even when they know filters exist, it still lands. Even when they know people post highlights, it still lands. Because knowing something isn't always the same as being protected from it. Then there's the emotional whiplash of feedback. A post goes up. Now there's waiting. Who saw it? Who liked it? Who didn't? Why did that person view the story and not reply? Why did they leave the group chat on read? Why does someone else's life look so effortless? Why does everyone seem to be together without me? Adults often underestimate how much emotional meaning gets packed into tiny digital moments. To a parent, it may look trivial. To a teen, it can feel social, personal, and immediate. Not because they're dramatic. Because the social brain is doing exactly what a social brain does. It is scanning for belonging, scanning for spaces, scanning for spellinging, scanning for status, scanning for safety. And these platforms are very good at keeping that scan alive. Then there's sleep. A tired teenager is not just sleepy. A tired teenager is more emotionally fragile, more irritable, more reactive, more likely to struggle with school, mood, focus, and conflict. And social media is brilliant at stealing sleep without announcing it. Just 10 more minutes, one more video, one more reply, one more scroll, one more look to make sure nothing happened without them. Suddenly, it's late, their body is tired, their brain is still switched on. And the next day, everything feels harder. Parents see the attitude and think, what happened to my child? Sometimes the answer is not one big thing. Sometimes it's 1,000 tiny overstimulations stacked on top of too little rest. There's also something else social media is doing that worries a lot of families. It's shrinking the space where teens can be alone with their own thoughts. That might sound small. It isn't. Boredom matters. Silence matters. The little empty spaces in a day matter. That's where reflection happens. That's where feelings rise up and get understood. That's where creativity starts. That's where a person slowly develops a self that is not constantly reacting, but when every pause gets filled instantly, a teen can lose practice being with themselves, and then the phone becomes more than a device. It becomes an escape hatch. Sad, scroll, awkward, scroll, angry, scroll, lonely, scroll, stressed, scroll, can't sleep, scroll, don't want to think, scroll. The problem is not that teens want relief. Of course they do. We all do. The problem is that a constant escape can quietly weaken emotional resilience. If every uncomfortable feeling gets interrupted, it never gets processed. It just waits, and often comes back bigger. This is why some parents feel like their teen is emotionally more fragile than they expected. Not because teens are weak, not because this generation is doomed, but because they are growing up in an environment that often keeps the nervous system activated and the inner life crowded. And parents are trying to respond while carrying their own overload. That part deserves more honesty. A lot of mothers and fathers are being told to set better boundaries as if the answer is simple, as if they're not trying, as if they're not already ending each day drained to the bone. You can love your child deeply and still feel completely worn down by this. You can understand the risks and still hand over the phone because you need to cook dinner, Answer emails, take a breath, stop an argument, or just survive the evening. That doesn't make you careless, it makes you human. Modern parenting is happening under pressure, financial pressure, time pressure, emotional pressure, and now digital pressure too. So if you found yourself snapping about screens when what you really feel is fear, you're not alone. If you've argued about phones so often that you're tired of your own voice, you're not alone. If you've wondered whether you're too strict, too soft, too late, too confused, too inconsistent, too overwhelmed, you're not alone. This is hard because the problem is not just the teen, and it's not just the parent, it's the environment. It's a world asking children to have adult levels of self-control in spaces designed to hijack attention. It's a culture that normalizes constant access. It's a system that profits when your child stays emotionally engaged, even if that engagement is anxious, compulsive, or unhappy. So what do parents actually do with that? Not panic, and not pretend it's nothing. Both extremes miss the point. If you demonize social media completely, your teen may stop hearing you. If you dismiss it completely, your teen may feel alone in something that is affecting them more than they can explain. The goal is not total control. For most families, that's not realistic. And honestly, control is not the same thing as guidance. What helps more is helping your teen notice what social media feels like in their body and mind, not just what they do on it, what it does to them. Do they feel more connected after using it or more agitated? Do they sleep worse when the phone stays in the room? Do certain accounts leave them feeling small? Do they feel pressure to perform? Do they ever feel relieved when they take a break? Do they know the difference between talking to friends and getting trapped in endless consumption? Those conversations matter because they build awareness, and awareness is more durable than lectures. It also helps when parents stop making this only a rule issue and start making it a relationship issue. A teen is more likely to talk when they don't feel instantly judged, more likely to admit, yeah, it's getting in my head, if they don't expect a speech the second they say it, more likely to accept limits if those limits feel connected to care rather than power. And yes, boundaries still matter. Phones out of bedrooms at night can matter. Protected sleep can matter. Offline routines can matter. Screen-free family rhythms can matter. Delaying access when kids are younger can matter. Helping teens curate who they follow can matter. But those things work best when the deeper message is clear. I'm not trying to punish you. I'm trying to protect your peace. I'm trying to help you keep hold of yourself, because that is really what this comes down to. Social media can pull a teen away from themselves, away from their own pace, away from their own body, away from ordinary life, away from the slow confidence that grows when a person is not constantly performing. And the antidote is not perfection, it's reconnection. Reconnection to sleep, to real conversation, to boredom, to movement, to privacy, to hobbies that do not need an audience, to friendships that exist off-screen, to a sense of self that doesn't rise and fall with every notification. And maybe, just maybe, parents need some of that reconnection too, because this conversation is not only about what social media is doing to your teen, it's also about what this era is doing to families. It is making everyone reachable, everyone visible, everyone overstimulated, everyone a little more tired than they should be. And in that kind of world, protecting your home from constant emotional noise is not old-fashioned. It's wise. Your teen does not need a perfect parent for this. They need a steady one, a curious one, a parent who can say, I know this world is intense. A parent who notices the changes. A parent who is willing to listen beneath the eye roll. A parent who understands that behind a lot of phone dependence, there is often stress, loneliness, fear, or the simple human ache of wanting to belong. So if you've been looking at your teenager and thinking, something is off, trust that instinct. Not every mood is social media. Not every struggle is caused by a phone. But this digital world does shape the emotional climate your child is growing up in. And when a child is growing up in a climate of comparison, stimulation, pressure, exposure, and never-ending social awareness, of course it affects them. Of course they get overwhelmed. Of course they get anxious. Of course they get pulled away from themselves. The good news is they can come back. Not through shame, not through fear, not through pretending the online world doesn't matter, but through limits with warmth, through honest conversations, through family rhythms that make room for breathing, through small daily acts that remind them they are more than their image, more than their feed, more than other people's reactions. Your teen is still in there, under the scrolling, under the attitude, under the tiredness, under the pressure to be seen. And what they need most may not be a perfect solution. It may be the quiet relief of knowing that home is still a place where they do not have to perform, a place where they can put the phone down, exhale, and slowly remember who they are.